U.S. Air Force bases here. I've got big stacks. It's all confirmed. They were let in by the government, protected. Actor James Woods saw Muhammad Atta and others doing drills on the plane like hijacking. And he tried to warn the government they didn't want to talk to him. It was 5 days before 9/11, or 6 days before 9/11. I mean, Atta and others were running drills, just like the TSA, does drills of sneaking bombs through. You better watch out, by the way, if you're DEA, FBI, CIA, SEAL Team 6, who does drills through the airports. This is how they'll do it. Especially if you're, quote, part of the new Muslim brigades that our military, our government, our supposed government has set up, quote, oh, we want to recruit you American Muslims to join the CIA. You see the ads on TV. We need you to help fight extremism. And really what they're doing is they're getting a gaggle of patsies so they can have you go on board a plane to do a drill. They're going to blow that plane out of the sky, and you're going to be all over the news. And your parents will come out and say, Ahmed was recruited out of college to join the CIA, and the media is just going to laugh at you. And it won't matter, if their college buddy comes out and says, no, Ahmed was recruited into the CIA 3 years ago. Well, his roommate's going to walk out and be hit by a car that day. I mean, that's how they roll. They roll that way. And I know it's fun to be scared of the terrorists and hide under your table all day, but no one can deny, and former Homeland Security head Governor Ridge admitted 2 years ago, that he was ordered to issue fake terror alerts for political purposes. So regardless of what you think is an inside job, they're using it to take our freedoms. Yeah, that's right. Bombshell. Saudi and U.S. governments protected hijackers. That's from 9/11 Commissioner Bob Graham. But that's always been known. They were trained at U.S. military bases. They were protected. The U.S. embassies, when they were coming back into the U.S., were told in Saudi Arabia, these men work for the CIA. Let them back in. They're in the terror files as their political cover. Yeah, they're at the topless bars. They're partying. They're got Mossad and FBI paying for their credit cards in San Diego and renting them their houses. But I know 9/11 wasn't an inside job. I understand. There's just all the videos of cops saying, get back, they're going to blow up Building 7. And BBC cuts to Building 7 as it stands and says, Building 7 has fallen from fires into its own footprint 25 minutes before it fell. Oops, we got that little memo early. Oh, there it goes. Ha ha, yes. Yes. Oh, and the government didn't ship tens of thousands of guns into Mexico to the crime cartels to then blame the Second Amendment. Oh, and they don't care that they've been caught. They don't care they've been caught. They went ahead and announced the new gun control, that the executive orders are coming to restrict the Second Amendment. Outside of law, the president just says so. And the ATF's got new rules for gun shops. There's no law, but they say so. And don't look for Republicans to point this out. No, they're going to say, how dare you ship the guns in? How dare you do this? Oh, and then lie about it. Lie to Congress and say they didn't. Even when Holder's caught lying, they're like, well, we better leave this alone because they got dirt on us. You notice Bill Clinton was protected by George Bush. Obama's protecting George W. Bush on the torture and all the rest of it because they all work for the same interest at the end of the day. And I want to get to this news item. Yesterday, Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, came out with a letter to the president proposing that the power of the purse, Article 1, Section 7 and 8 of the Constitution, be transferred entirely to the president. And they sold this like, ooh, that's a skillful political move. We'll let him do it and get us more into debt and bankrupt us, and then we'll blame him. Like winning political points is what matters. And that's only for the camp follower Republicans that feel like they're big political analysts and smart. No, this is the ongoing agenda to transfer power into the executive. What did we see Republicans and Democrats do under Bill Clinton? Sign most of Congress's authority over to the private World Trade Organization over our trade, 1996. What did we see with the Glass-Steagall? Sign over all power to the banks to control and the Federal Reserve to control the issuance of currency and credit. And that happened to a certain extent in 1913, but the full transference with the Glass-Steagall and other acts that were gotten rid of. in 1998, 1999. So it's this continued transference. These guys are there as traitors, treasonous, and I'm not just using those words, that's what it is, to transfer the power of the Congress, the lawmakers. Well, Obama is the lawmaker now. Congress are the war makers, the lawmakers, the tax raisers, the deciders on debt. And in case you don't believe me, I'm now going to read from the archaic Constitution, that thing that we've seen the last few months, every major publication, including the Statesman here in Austin, saying it's time to get rid of that Constitution. Yeah, private property, due process, checks and balances, separation of power. Yeah, that's why we need states, why we need a Congress, why do we need courts? Because we've got an imperial presidency. And again, the media will say Jones claims Obama will be a dictator. No, the office is becoming a dictatorship of the bureaucracy and the special interests that own it and run it and whose alumni sit in all the positions of power and regulatory authority. It's fully made up of these corporate non-free market pirates. Article 1, Section 7 deals with spending bills arising in the House, going to the Senate for the power of levying taxes, debts, things like that. Now, Section 8 gets even more specific. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Yeah, how about Obama's forced health care, which is a tax, and he gives his buddies waivers? That's not uniform, is it? No. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. And, of course, borrowing money. See, a president can be bought off by a foreign power. That happened a lot in Europe with kings and princes and even elected leaders. So they go on to say the president can't sign deals getting us into debt. The president can't raise debt ceilings. And it says to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes, establish a uniform rule of naturalization. And it goes in to say that they control the coinage, the issuance of weights and measures, currencies, that the Congress is the boss of the military, of everything. But they teach the military that the president's the boss. Okay, so finishing up on the latest bit of treason, as the Congress, the lawmakers, the tax authorities transfer or attempt to transfer whatever power they've got left illegally to the president. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell floated a novel way out of the default Tuesday. Well, no, that's what the IMF and World Bank prefer, is a dictatorship, suggesting that Congress give up its power to raise the debt ceiling and instead effectively transfer that authority and the political pain that comes with it to the White House for the remainder of Obama's current term. But then they quote other Republicans here in these articles saying the proposal is not only likely unconstitutional, it is the worst possible strategy for Republicans who promise to fight the debt to now instead give the president unilateral power to borrow to his heart's content. The McConnell plan is full surrender, the white flag approach. And that is exactly what it is. Mitch McConnell, that I hear conservatives hailing constantly, makes me want to throw up. Yeah, why not give the World Trade Organization the authority over our trade? Why not let the president launch wars if he wants to without getting authorization from Congress? I mean, where is Congress blocking Obama having the EPA go around and shut down all of General Electric's competition in coal power plants? Headline 3 months ago. Secretary of Energy, we're going to shut down massive amounts of coal plants. Headline the same day, Wall Street Journal, Obama signs waivers for General Electric. Obama issues waivers to McDonald's and over 2,000 other firms so don't have to buy insurance for their employees, but I'm not exempt. These rules are going in this year. Think about that, separate from whether the health care law is legitimate or not, and obviously it isn't. And I know I harp on this out of everything almost every day because, folks, this is a new level of open corruption where all of the president's contributors are exempt from the garbage they bring down on us. That is dictatorship. If you study the Nazis, that is exactly what went on under Hitler. It's corporate fascism. They would pass all these regulations, and then Nazi companies were exempt, and in just a few years, there were no companies but Nazi companies. That's the type of system we're going under, and it is so mind-boggling. You know, people think of discrimination as only, well, I'm white and I was discriminated by black people, or I'm black, I was discriminated by white people, or I'm Hispanic, I was discriminated against by black people or white people. No, 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 no. See, they distract you with all of that and obsess over it all day, and certainly some of that goes on. The main issue is, it's back in the news today. 2 years running, General Electric has paid zero taxes and made giant profits. Google pays 2.4. I was seeing numbers of Berkshire Hathaway paying less than 5%. And then meanwhile, constantly in the news, I've got Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Oprah Winfrey, who they admit, quote, have secret meetings to discuss how to reduce population, source on that, Times of London, lecturing that, telling their audience rich people don't pay enough tax, raise taxes, and the taxes they promote are on people making $125,000 a year. Folks, that isn't rich. The middle class is so important because that's the group that gets their hair done. That's the group that buys cars and clothes and goes to your hotel. That's the group that has a local business and sponsors your radio station. That's the group in the million-plus small businesses that still run everything. We're now a service economy. The middle class is always important. In a service economy, it's all we've got. It's all we've got. And now under Bush and under Obama, we've had the head of the Small Business League on. They are giving almost none of, under federal law, the federal contracts to small businesses, even though under law they're supposed to. And it turns out there's a secret blacklist where small companies, and I'm talking about companies worth $100 million, that's considered small, cannot get government contracts. I mean, if we're going to have this system, shouldn't American companies, shouldn't small businesses get it? No, the big mega offshore corporations get it because they set up the system. They don't pay taxes. They get the government contracts. It's corporate welfare. And that's what I want to see cut. That's what I want to see fixed. And you're not going to hear these stinking Republicans tell you about it. And you're not going to hear the stinking Democrats talk about it because they're on the same team at the top. They're talking about cutting welfare. You know what's going to happen? Because we're already in this dependent mode. I was against it. I am still against it. But you know what's going to happen if they kick the 49.5 million? Every few months, it goes up by another million. Within a month, it's going to be 50 million people on full-bore food stamps, the little credit cards, administered by Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan. Oh, yeah, they make money on that as well. You know what would happen if 50 million people didn't have their soup line, their high-tech 21st century soup line? The cities, every actuary study and government study have shown, will burn within 5 days, which is exactly where they want us, because now if you don't give the bankers the trillions they want every month in, quote, bailout that are really robbery, they've gotten government to sign on to their too big to fail, to their Ponzi scheme that they made money on the front end with, now they make money on the back end with. They're going to pull the plug completely on the economy, and they threatened it in Europe. They threatened total depression and martial law just 2 weeks ago in Greece. They threatened it 3 years ago here, and now they're threatening it again if we don't do everything they say. So instead we just slowly collapse instead of fully collapsing at once, which would be better because it would collapse them. So there's no easy way out on this, but it goes bad to worse. Now, what is Obama saying? He says, if you don't raise that debt ceiling, I may not be able to send your Social Security checks out, which, again, they sell as an entitlement because they stole the money. If you put it in a guaranteed investment of 5%, you'd get on average double the money after 30 years of working. That money's been gone for 50 years. It hadn't been in there. It was leveraged and spent before it ever went in. So now they're going to have all these people on fixed incomes who are going to do whatever the government says, and are going to support us going deeper into Banana Republic debt because they got to get their Social Security check. And down the road, you're not going to get your Social Security check. Oh, you'll still get it in the mail, but it won't buy anything, just like a Deutsche Mark in 1932 wouldn't buy anything. 1 million of them wouldn't buy a piece